everybody. Welcome to Watershed Ranch, the home of Fredericksburg Farms. I am your pitmaster. I'm Cindy Hayter, pitmaster and competition cook, and obviously I am part of the team here at Fredericksburg Farms. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about pork butt today. I have an audience behind me I'm pretty excited about. These guys keep me company. I think they like pork butt. They're going to be part of our show today, and well, this is what we got here on the ranch. So anyway, today I've got this, I've chosen, it's been called pork butt, pork shoulder. This is a bone-in, and they are my favorite to cook. Many of us have debates about whether we want bone-in or bone-out. I think anything with a bone adds flavor. So for me, I prefer bone-in. This is about a 7-pounder. The reason I've picked this one is it has just a beautiful marbling to it. I need this to be done here in about 7 hours, so I did get one a little bit smaller, although I do like one sometimes a little more squared off at between 8.5 pounds. It also has a really pretty, some might refer to as a money muscle. This one's actually pretty nice. If you do competition cooking, this is a very highly prized piece of meat to turn in. You know, in the old Paula D videos, the dog was always in the background. I think I've one-upped her on this one today. All I'm going to do on this today is I'm going to just do a little bit of trimming. For me personally, I like to leave as much of the fat on as I can. There's a little bit of vessels in the center here, some vessels that we probably don't want to leave in. So I'm just going to trim that out a little bit. And you can see they're kind of, they just don't look good. Let me turn around, see what else we got going on here. There's just a tiny bit of gristle style fat, hard fat. I personally don't think, again, it's necessary. It doesn't seem to render out as well as the soft fat on top. Again, some competition cooks versus backyarders like to take this is called a false fat cap. This is actually a fat cap on top. Some people like to trim it all the way off to make sure that that rub gets directly on the meat. I personally don't use this part anyway if I'm doing turn-in boxes for judging. So I just leave it on. To me, anytime you can get as much flavor as you can, it's for the best. Our director gets to take care of the horses too. They must know there's apples or peaches around here somewhere. They must have figured that out. They're pretty smart horses. What I've done right now is I've scored the top just a little bit to kind of get a little flavor in there. And then the most thickest part of this pork butt, because I do want it to cook a little evenly, I'm just going to take this little tenderizer right through here a little bit. Again, this helps get some of the flavor in the meat also. One thing a lot of us like to do is we do like to inject our meats. I personally like, even though this has some great marbling, I do like a little bit of injection in my pork shoulder. And all I do is I take a little bit of Worcestershire and a little bit of peach nectar. And a little bit of water. Again, there's some amazing injections out there that I think really enhance flavor and tenderness. But if you get a good marbled pork shoulder, a little bit of extra moisture in there is just fine. I've cooked great pork butts without it. So, but I am going to be cooking this at 250 today, and so I want to make sure that I've got the moisture in it. I also try to hit, there's 7 muscle groups in the pork shoulder. I try to hit them all. Now, a lot of people like to use a little bit of yellow mustard on top of their pork shoulder. I certainly think that that's acceptable. What I like to use is a little bit of Worcestershire on the outside. Again, it adds that nice little salty flavor. Then I like to use a little bit of our Fredericksburg Farm jalapeno sweet hot mustard, which I've added just a little bit of a nice dark beer with it. You can use Shiner Bock, my favorite. That'll help tenderize it. It'll also create a nice little coating on the meat. So when I do use our rub, it should stick to it pretty darn good. So now we got the Fredericksburg Farm Hog Wild rub, pork rub. It's probably got about 10 different spices in it. Has a nice little pepper base. Pork does love heat. So feel free to use, you know, different layers of peppers such as cayenne, white pepper, black pepper. With heavier cuts of meat, it's also good to have a nice healthy level of salt. And you can be very generous. As this meat cooks, the fat starts to render. It does push some of the rub and seasonings off. Oftentimes, cooks like to re-season their meat. I personally sometimes think it's necessary, but I don't do that until I actually start slicing it, and then you can do a little dusting to add a little more seasoning to it. Just one good healthy coat, I think, is usually fine. On the fat side, I do like to add just a little touch of salt. And that also helps, again, add a little bit of flavor, but it also helps the fat render. All right, you know, oftentimes people like to say, gosh, you know, how long do I let these rest before I put them on the smoker or the grill? You know, honestly, if you just let it rest till it starts to sweat, with an injection, with a nice coating of rub, that's usually enough, but you can leave it, you know, overnight. For me, about 4 or 5 hours.